It's still the morning show here on Arise News, and now we take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. First off, there is jubilation in Eruku community of Kwara State following the rescue of 38 worshippers kidnapped from the Christ Apostolic Church in the community recently. News of the rescue of the victims was broken by the state governor, Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak, through a statement by his chief press secretary, Rafiu Ajakaye, on Sunday. The governor attributed the safe rescue of the victims to President Bola Tinubu's hands-on approach and personal involvement in the efforts to free the abductees. Also, 50 of the 315 students abducted from St. Mary's Catholic School in Papiri, Niger State, have escaped from their captors. Giving an update on the developments, the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Niger State Chapter, Most Reverend Bulus Yohana, he said the students have been reunited with their parents. Yohana, who is also the Catholic Bishop of Kontagora Diocese, the proprietors of the school, said they were able to ascertain the escape of the students when they contacted and visited some of the parents. Following this development, he disclosed that 253 students, including 13 members of staff, were still with the abductors. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has confirmed that all 38 worshippers abducted in Eruku, Kwara State have been rescued, while 51 of the school children kidnapped in Niger State have also been recovered following days of coordinated operations by the security forces. In a message posted on his official X handle, the president says he's closely monitoring the security situation nationwide and receiving continuous updates from the front line. He insists he will not relent, stressing that every Nigerian in every state has the right to safety and that under his watch, the government will secure the nation and protect its people. The president's update follows a succession of security incidents that have unsettled the country, including the mass abduction in Kebbi State, the attack on worshippers in Kwara, and in quick succession, the kidnapping of more than 300 students in Niger State. Also, President Bola Tinubu has met with service chiefs to review the present security situation in the country. In attendance were the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Director General of the State Security Service, and the Inspector General of Police. Also present were the Minister of Information and his counterpart at the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development. And in response to the prevailing security situation across the country, police officers assigned to VIP protection are being withdrawn immediately to focus on their core policing duties. President Bola Tinubu gave the directive at the security meeting. Under the order, VIPs who need protection will now request well-armed personnel from the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. While similar directives have been issued by previous police leadership, this is the first time such an order comes directly from the president. In addition, approval has been given for the recruitment of 30,000 additional police officers, and work is ongoing with states to upgrade police training facilities nationwide. All right.
We're all aware of what is happening around our country, and Mr. President, in his ways, has decided to summon all the security heads to the villa this Sunday evening to discuss this matter, because it is of utmost importance to Mr. President. Therefore, discussions have held, and I will want to introduce first the Chief of Air Staff here, and the Chief of Army Staff, the Inspector General of Police, and the Honorable Minister of Solid Minerals. We just came out of a meeting with Mr. President, and the Chief of Army Staff will brief you on some of the decisions taken at this meeting.
Presently, we are receiving very good, positive news from from Kwara State, where the entire 38 people that were abducted have been reunited with their families. And progress is also made from Niger State, whereby we have about 51 of those students that have now reunited with their families. For Kebbi State, efforts are also yielding positive results. Progress is being made substantially in that aspect. And all security forces are still deployed there, cordon of the whole general area, whereby we expect that we'll have some also news from that general area.
This emergency meeting of the service chief with the Inspector General of Police with Mr. President is to review recent incidents of abduction of school children in Kebbi and in Niger, an attack on vulnerable communities. Mr. President took briefings from all of us, and he's satisfied with our efforts so far. He's particularly happy with the recent development in Kwara, where all the 38 abducted victims from a church have all been rescued and reunited with their families. Mr. President gave direct order that immediately policemen providing VIP protection should be made available to join the forces, combating the... Should be withdrawn. You see, the policemen providing VIP protection presently are to be withdrawn, and they are to complement the ongoing efforts against criminalities.
All right, we hear a statement there, but very importantly this morning, what's dominated the news, and I believe over the weekend, and what is very important currently when we talk about news headlines, is the insecurity situation in Nigeria. And of course, good news around security efforts being made by the president, who is leading the charge, and security agents. Your take on this story has been by.
Yes, well, where do I begin? Let's begin with the withdrawal of VIP police, which is something that we've heard several times. But as you rightfully said, it's the first time that the directive is coming from the president. So we'll wait to see if that translates into reality, and if it's not just a, sort of a populist statement for this time, because we know that morale is low and people need to hear and see something that appears to be encouraging. So I hope that deployment will happen. However, was it yesterday that we woke up to the news? At some point in the course of the day, we received the news from the president directly that 38 worshippers had been rescued, and that some 50 students had escaped from their captives. Now, this also paints a picture that these situations are different. If you listen to the account of those who were held captive, the 38 church worshippers, one of them was saying that they felt that they were in a terrain that was dominated by bandits, that there was no way they could have escaped, that the bandits had full control of all of the routes, that area was dominated by them. Now, if you contrast that to the school children who were able to escape, it shows you that there's a difference in methodology, there's a difference in modus operandi. Having said that, it feels that there are more questions than answers, because we're still asking, okay, if the 38 worshippers were rescued, who were they rescued from? Where are the arrests? When that attack happened, we heard almost something that sounded like semi-automatic weapons, sophisticated weaponry. Where was that? Were those weapons confiscated? Where are those guns now? Now, I know some security experts may say that, oh, these are sensitive issues because there are ongoing efforts happening around. However, right now, the trust deficit is at a peak. So Nigerians need to taste and smell that these things are truly transpiring, that truly insecurity is being dealt with, and we are not, being given what people would call smoke and mirrors. Very important. Now, on to the next issue for me, which is just the insecurity as a whole. We saw a sudden, a burst of insecurity this weekend, and it just forced many of us to sit back and relax. And it's very clear that Nigeria is fighting two enemies. The external enemy, if we look at it, we usually refer to events that transpired in Libya and so forth. But if you look at the literature around terrorism and how the trends have shifted, the ongoing attacks happening in the Middle East and all the activity we've seen in the Middle East has actually weakened the terrorist headquarters, whether it be Al-Qaeda or whether it be Islamic State and so forth. They are weakened in the Middle East, and this has led most of them to run to Africa. And you find there's a huge concentration in the Sahel. And this is what we see transpiring around Mali, Burkina Faso, and now we're seeing an increase in Nigeria as well. Now, when we speak of the external enemy, we now ask ourselves, okay, we've seen the narrative from the United States. We've spoken about that. However, where is ECOWAS? ECOWAS is said to have activated a counterterrorism joint force. Surely this is the time to activate that force when we have so many things happening in the country. Lest we forget that Nigeria is one of the leading members of ECOWAS, and this counterterrorism force was said to have been activated under the stewardship of President Bola Tinubu. Surely this is the time. However, when you read the reports about this counterterrorism force, many people are even skeptical that it will even materialize because it needs about $2.5 billion per year to be able to operate. Is it time for us to make friends with the alliance of Sahel states, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, the nations who left ECOWAS? Because our biggest land border with Niger is currently with somebody who is not a friend. We need to become friends with Niger. Porous borders are part of this problem. What is the cooperation looking like? Can we put politics aside so that we can look at safety issues? If you look at, because there's also an upsurge of insecurity in those three countries as well, but they are cooperating, they are assisting each other, and they are coming to each other's help. So it's time for a regional effort. Now, when we look at the enemy within, when I read a lot of literature concerning, this Islamic State, the jihadists and their playbook, because there's a lot of it available. A lot of research has been done. What are they taking advantage of? They are taking advantage of a broken social contract. They arrive in these communities and their manuals say that you have to win the hearts of the community. And how do they do that? They pretend to be the saving grace of these communities. They tell these communities that we will empower you economically. They tell these communities that we will protect you. Your state has failed you. So what needs to happen? Our state needs to ensure that there is a social contract that is renewed. We saw the Arewa Consultative Forum marking 25 years yesterday, and various things were said, one of which was around the trust deficit. But another major issue is around how can we economically empower these vulnerable communities who will turn to whoever will help them and will even assist these players in perpetuating these atrocities because they feel that the government has failed them. So as I round up, the most important thing, I believe, is besides putting out this current crisis, the technocrats should not be sitting back and saying the commander-in-chief and the armed forces are in charge. The technocrats need to be drafting a rescue plan that can create a very urgent safety net for these areas, because at the core of the issue is economic disempowerment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr.
Okay,
Martin.
let me start with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He cancelled the trip to Johannesburg, South Africa, to attend the G20 summit. He cancelled the trip to go to the AU-EU summit meeting in Luanda, Angola. We were told that he would sit back to address the security issues in the country and receive briefings. He dispatched the vice president to Kebbi to assess the situation. Subsequently, he sent Minister of State for Defense, Minister Matawale, to also go there. And he has convened also a meeting of the security, of the service chiefs who met and reported to him. And on the back of that, we have been told that, 38 persons who were abducted in Kebbi have been released, have been rescued. 50 of the over 300 students of St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State have also been rescued. Well, on the surface of it, kudos to the president. It shows that in terms of managing the situation, his realization that the buck stops at his desk is a very important message coming across. And in the statement that was read, he said that under his watch, he has a responsibility to make sure that every Nigerian is safe. Every Nigerian has the right to safety. In fact, the Constitution is very clear in that regard. Section 14, sub 2, says that the primary responsibility of government is to ensure the security and the welfare of the people. Now, to go straight to the point about withdrawal of VIP protection and giving that responsibility to the civil defense. Now, VIP protection is unfortunately part of the responsibility of the police. I recall that policemen at a time, they were usually sent regularly for VIP protection. But what went wrong is that the system was abused. We got to a situation whereby our policemen became back carriers for the wives of important personalities. They became, errand boys going to pay school fees, taking children of madam to school. The whole situation became so ridiculous that in a country that has not even met its UN quota, the UN quota for policing is one policeman to, I think, 450. But what we have, the reality in Nigeria, is that we have one policeman to about 670 persons. In other words, the ratio is skewed. It doesn't follow international standard. And then the bulk of these people are reduced to bag carriers and makeup bag, and market bag carriers for the madams of big people. So it is important. It is a good development that at the end of the day, the president of Nigeria himself has realized that this must stop. On Friday, I said that we are under-policed, and then we have the military doing police work that they should not be doing, and that the military is overstretched. I even asked that people who have retired, who still have energy within them, the government for a period, for maybe for emergency reasons, should recall some of the soldiers that can still function. Should recall policemen that still have fire within them, so that we can, farm up the security situation. And that people in civil defense should be given training to get involved, but all of that will require perhaps amendment of the law, particularly with regard with the civil defense. If you look at the Civil Defense Act, it talks about protection of government installations, government assets. Now the president is now saying, okay, they can do VIP protection. I'm sure there must be something like that, within their enabling act. The civil defense has to be reformed. They have to be retrained. They have to be given resources. They have to be given opportunities if they are going to do the job of VIP protection. The official officers, heavily armed or strongly armed or whatever word the president used, will require training. They will require reorientation. And they must be motivated, because I believe that even in civil defense, there must be issues of welfare, issues of, attention to the happiness and the welfare of the officers. So the president has his job cut out for him. He was the one who went and mentioned civil defense. That civil defense should be upgraded, in my view. Now, there is jubilation in Eruku. Well, that's to be expected. These are church members who were in church November 18. Some bandits had been hiding within the vicinity of the church, and they carted away 38 persons. Don't forget that there was a request for ransom, 100 million per person, totaling about 3.8 billion. Now, how did the Kwara State government handle the situation? While the federal government was holding meetings, the governor of Kwara State too called his own security meeting and tried to address the situation. So, who did what? Was ransom paid? 3.8 billion? What happened? What was the process? The public will need to know, because it's not enough to jubilate. And the church, there was service there yesterday at the church. People still came to church. The whole thing about Christian eschatology is that it teaches people to be hopeful, because without hope, there will be no Christianity. The hope that, you hear every Sunday that there is afterlife, there is better life, there is redemption, and the Lord is always present, to protect the flock. And the Lord Jesus Christ had died, on behalf of all sinners, and that our God is a God of redemption. And that is the courage that the people of that CAC church in Eruku, they showed yesterday. They went back there to say they will not be intimidated by terrorism. The responsibility of the Nigerian government is to make sure that this doesn't happen again. It's not enough to say we have rescued 50 persons here, we have rescued 38 here, we are working more, we are committed. No, it's to make sure that who said people can sleep with two eyes closed? Whether in the southeast or in the northwest or in the north central, people should be able to sleep with their eyes closed. Well, I end by saying that I commend the president. He stayed back. We got results. But the institutions have to be made to function. And the people should not just jubilate because abducted persons have been brought home. The people of Nigeria should jubilate on a daily basis because this country, as the president promises, should be a safe country for all of us. Whether someone who came from Zimbabwe to become our wife, or whether we, the ones who are...
The Nigerian people. We the people.
Or a Lagosian.
We all want to be
who is
safe.
always excited by our state.
All right, absolutely. Every Nigerian should feel safe. And so the question this morning is, how safe do you feel as a Nigerian? Yes, we can celebrate, and we do celebrate the fact that we have people rescued who were abducted from the church in Eruku, Kwara State. Yes, we are very grateful and glad that there's at least 51 of the students in Niger State, St. Mary's Catholic Church, have, whether they escaped or they were rescued, but they are home with their family members. We celebrate that. And yes, we can say that good one for this administration, for this government, that they've gotten them back home. But beyond that, I asked the question earlier, is, do you feel safe? Because until the problem is solved or it is nipped in the bud, no matter how many rescue efforts are made, if we don't have arrests of the perpetrators of these bandits, if we don't have convictions and we see that they are locked up so they cannot repeat what they have done before, then it might just very well be a temporary celebration awaiting with bated breath what will come up next. And we do not want a situation where we have a country that people are living in fear as to what the next move is. And a symptom of that is that parents are now withdrawing their children from certain schools in some parts of the country. Whether from a young age to tertiary level, parents are withdrawing their school. There are now advisories as to where to go or where not to go. That is not a symptom of success. It's actually that we have not been able to fix the problem. And that's what we keep calling for on a daily basis here on this table, that the government, the president, must not just be seen to whatever way they've done it, whether through negotiations, through paying of ransom, to rescue these people, to actually deal with the problem and arrest those who are causing mayhem, the bandits. I was watching an interview whereby recently a former governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, was talking about how bandits were being mollycoddled in terms of the fact that they were paid monthly, they were sent food, they were negotiated with in order to maintain peace and order. What kind of weak administration or government would do such a thing? He was accusing the Kaduna State government of doing that. And up
the
till
Kaduna
now,
State government has denied that.
Well, he has denied that.
That
But we
Rufai is lying.
But we see the bandits come out, and we see amnesty. It has happened in the past, Dr. Abati.
He would have to bring
in Katsina State.
Yes, in Katsina State. It has happened in the
but
past.
But the Kaduna State government now says
and then
no.
He lends credence to his assertion when we see situations like this where there are no arrests, no convictions, but all of a sudden people are rescued. What happened? If they are denied, you cannot just come and deny what happened. How did they get the rescue? And so that's what we're saying, that if we continue to handle bandits with kid gloves and not deal with them, they will continue to have the problem persist. We will not see an end to insecurity. And as has been said, if the South feels insulated by all this, it is moving and encroaching closer and closer. And so whilst we say kudos on one hand, on the other hand, we're asking for more. We're asking that these criminals, these bandits, are brought to book, because it's a matter of where next, what next, when next, and people will continue to feel unsafe. Now, with regards to the pulling out of security of policemen from protecting VIPs, yes, politically exposed people and VIPs have, under the Constitution, a right to have protection by the Nigerian police. But what has been said again and again is that we do not have enough numbers in terms of personnel. Let me break down the numbers to you. The European Union Agency for Asylum noted that the Nigerian police has an estimated strength of 371,800 officers, serving a population of approximately 236.7 million people. When you break it down to the maths, it's 1 to 636 at full capacity. When you minus 100,000, which is the approximate number of policemen who guard and guide our VIPs, we have 1 to 870 Nigerians. Yes, there is a number that the UN has prescribed for a one policeman to citizen ratio. But even further than that is looking at the peculiarity of the geographical location. Number one, the density of the population. Number two, the security challenges of the population, whereby you might even need an increased number of policemen per population. And so it is important for us to know that we are nowhere near there. And even the 30,000 recruitment that has been ordered by the president is not going to solve the problem. And that's why we continue to see interventions by the military, which is not supposed to be so. And beyond the optics of taking or pulling away the policemen from these VIPs, it is the respect and the upholding of the institution of the police, whereby they have been, it's been eradicated such that you see policemen like Dr. Bati already cited, doing duties and responsibilities that is way beneath the office and the uniform that they wear. I hope that this would also be nipped in the bud as we talk about how we can better utilize and maximize the limited resources in terms of personnel when it comes to the policemen. As was already mentioned, in the past, it's been the IG of police who has come out to say that, okay, we're going to stop that. But now the president has given the order. The C has spoken. We hope that this will be implemented and enforced with immediate effect, and that the policemen can actually do what it was, address this critical insecurity matters that we face currently in Nigeria. These are some of the issues that we talk about. And so, whilst we congratulate the president on one hand and we say, well done, security operatives for doing their job, we also say, on the other hand, we need more than that. We need Nigerians to be able to close their two eyes and go to bed with the knowledge that criminals are behind bars and not walking freely, whether in forests, in communities, amongst community members, acting as one of them.